Blake Lively's It Ends With Us lawsuit is now causing even more drama for Ryan Reynolds, as his bosses over at Disney and Marvel are being demanded to preserve any reference to Nice Pool, Justin Baldoni, and anybody else that Ryan Reynolds has had a beef with. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore. This is a big update. This is going to cause a lot of strain on Mr. Ryan Reynolds. And it's yet another example as to why this lawsuit was the dumbest thing Blake Lively could have ever done. I can't even fathom how stupid this move was. Look, people didn't like Blake Lively due to things we saw with our own eyes. It had nothing to do with Justin Baldoni, but she got so butthurt from the press and refused to take accountability and apologize to a journalist like Kirsty, and instead now is making this all about Hollywood must support her, believe her, she's being bullied. Meanwhile, as this lawsuit's unfurling, we're discovering it was Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively who were really bullying Justin. The entire Nice Pool character was just made to mock Justin. This makes me like the film less. This is such a disappointing thing to see. It's so petty from Ryan Reynolds. I'm so disappointed to be here reporting this, to start being so frustrated with Ryan. What are you doing, Ryan? I really was a fan of yours. This is such a bad look. And it's not the first time you've been accused of such things. Tim Miller, the director of Deadpool. I remember I never even wanted to say this. I didn't want to say this. I remember talking to Tim Miller back at the time the Honest Trailers happened. So Ryan, let's keep it all honest. You screwed over Tim Miller. You absolutely did. Tim Miller was just as important a presence on that first Deadpool film as you were. He had a lot of involvement in creative say. Now, I'm not saying he complained. He actually was a gentleman and spoke very highly of Ryan, but I could just tell there was bad blood there and there was disappointment from Tim in the way he was treated. But it's Hollywood. You can't go badmouth people. And he didn't. For the record, he didn't. But there was just something I could always tell. Something was off in the way Ryan Reynolds treated Tim Miller, the first director of Deadpool, who didn't come back for Deadpool 2. And it just made me wonder, because like my experience with Ryan was fantastic. He was so polite, so nice, so generous to what he did when I got to work with him ages back. One of the highlights of my career. He was so quick-witted, funny, and collaborative. So all of this is just such a shock to me to learn more and more, but I guess you learn more about people. And it's interesting. We're going to get back to that Tim Miller story. The reason I bring it up is because now he's being dragged into this along with Disney and Marvel, because they want to know, well, why did Tim Miller not get to be on there? Did Ryan Reynolds push him off? Did he exert control from Tim to take over that movie? What other movies has he tried to take over? They want to go back and get all these receipts. Now, that was all done at the time, 20th Century Fox, so I don't even know if Disney's going to be able to provide receipts for that kind of stuff. Who knows? But I don't even know if any of this is going to even really be able to get. But the fact now that Justin's team is really turning the screw on Ryan to say, hey, Disney, hey, Marvel, you're going to have to hand over everything. This is not a fun thing for Ryan Reynolds to have to deal with. And I'm sure it's going to uncover some things, if they get access, that are not going to make Ryan Reynolds look very good. It's not. So again, why did you file this lawsuit? What were you trying to achieve? To just steamroll and destroy this man? I can't even fathom it. You mocked him in the movie, and then you think we're all supposed to take you seriously now when you're willing to like mock him and jokey jokes in your movie. Oh, but it's a serious issue. You must believe me. This isn't a he said, she said. This thing is such a friggin' mess. Now, let's go through what they're now alleging and forcing Disney to do. Variety's viewed a copy of the letter, which calls on the studio to preserve all relevant documents and data with regards to Justin Baldoni. May come as a surprise, given that the film was Sony, had nothing to do with Disney, but Baldoni's attorney believes that Lively's husband, Ryan Reynolds, was flagrantly mocking Baldoni in a sequence in Marvel's Deadpool and Wolverine, which was released by Disney in July. The sequence features Reynolds playing Nice Pool, an official alternative version of Deadpool, saying such lines as, "Where in God's name is the intimacy coordinator?" and complimenting Lady Pool for snapping back into shape after giving birth. Lively, who cameoed in the film as Lady Pool, recently accused Baldoni of SH and fat-shaming her and her postpartum body on the set. When Deadpool points out a Nice Pool's misogyny in the scene, He later replies, "It's okay. I identify as a feminist." During the development, production, and marketing of It Ends With Us, a drama about DV, Baldoni often touted his credentials as a feminist and ally to women. Marvel and Disney declined to comment, as did Reynolds and Lively's reps. Friedman could not be reached. He is believed to be one of the many industry figures whose home was destroyed in the fire, which is a tragedy. Nobody deserves that. And I'm sure that's going to cause some more strain on all this as well. There's reports that Justin got filed. Like they sent the filing to one of these lawsuits to Justin as he was evacuating and his house was being burned down. That's what Blake Lively has done throughout this. This is, especially now as Hollywood's burning, this was the worst thing you could have done, Blake. Your ego needs to be put in check. And it looks like Ryan's does as well. And both of you are now going to get bit by karma because you thought you were too big to fail. As I've learned in my own life, nobody is too big to fail, okay? And we are about to watch, I think, a lot of their fame and such crumble because of their own actions, because they couldn't take accountability for themselves. The litigation hold letter sent the day the fires began, calls for Marvel and Disney to preserve any and all documents related to the development of the Nice Pool character, as well as any communications relating to the development, writing, and filming of storylines and scenes featuring Nice Pool. The letter also calls for the studio to retain all documents relating to or reflecting a deliberate attempt to mock, harass, ridicule, intimidate, or bully Baldoni through the character of Nice Pool. Reynolds, who was a writer, producer, and star of Deadpool Wolverine, has never addressed if there's a connection between Nice Pool and Baldoni, but give me a break. Even as fans speculated, this is long before the current legal clash between the parties that has spawned 3 lawsuits to date. Baldoni and 9 others sued the New York Times, as we know. Blah, blah, blah. Let's get to the new points here. We got all that. Litigation hold letter, here it is, which was written ahead of the anticipated claims, relate to Reynolds and Lively's tortious interference with contract and civil extortion. Goes well beyond the Nice Pool character and implies that a Lively Baldoni style rift exists between Reynolds and Miller. Tim Miller, who I told you before, directed the first Deadpool, but did not return for the sequel. The director and star are known to have clashed. The letter instructs the studio to preserve any documents and data relating to complaints made against Ryan Reynolds by any person, including without limitation, Tim Miller, and Miller's departure from the film Deadpool 2, as well as any instances of Reynolds exerting creative control of any film project. Miller did not respond for immediate request to comment. We're going to come back to Miller in a second. A litigation hold letter often precedes litigation. Baldoni has not sued Lively or Reynolds, but Friedman has indicated that a suit is imminent, telling Kelly that he plans to sue the Hollywood power couple into oblivion following the publication of the story. WME, who reps Lively and Reynolds, also reps Miller. Now, so I think that's all. That's the latest. We're just going through in the end credits. Yeah, okay. I was making sure there was nothing new from that letter. Now, look. The fact that they're bringing Miller in this might be unfair because, again, like I said, Miller never actually told me anything negative about Ryan. I don't want to get Tim in trouble, but it seems pretty factual that Ryan screwed over Tim. Beyond me talking to Tim, that was just sort of in the industry and what the whispers were around town. And to be fair, Ryan really was instrumental in that character, but so was Tim, building that fake promo, the promo that leaked and the effects at his Blur Studios. The fact that Tim sort of got pushed out as then Ryan championed and sort of took the wave of Deadpool all by himself, it just looks bad. And I sensed Ryan agreed because ironically, I noticed this. I couldn't find it now, but I saw it because I followed this drama very closely, especially that. There was a point months ago while this drama was sort of unfolding, right before it unfolded, Ryan Reynolds out of nowhere tagged Tim Miller in a story on his Instagram, like, oh, look who it is. And looking at it now, it felt like Ryan was sort of trying to collect anybody else who he might have wronged to sort of get them on his side in case, the dam were to break. Is how it sort of looked. Now, maybe he was just trying to be a good guy and realized I was a jerk. Let me reach out and try to make this good. I hope. He is a Canadian. He seems like a very nice guy, Ryan Reynolds. I do hope he's not intentionally trying to do these terrible things. Who knows anymore? But all I know is it's very interesting that now they're suddenly bringing Tim Miller into this because I do suspect he was pushed out of that movie. Is this something they've done on other movies? Is this something they've been accused of and they could prove that they steamroll and take over films? Is this even relevant? I don't know. But all I know is this just looks so bad for Ryan. The fact that now Disney and Marvel have to go back and, like, of all the things Deadpool made fun of, Now we got to go back and check for Justin Baldoni receipts. I mean, it's kind of silly in one way. I could see it as that. But at the same time, you guys are just so dumb that you let it get this far. Why were you mocking this guy who SH'd you like this? It to me removes any seriousness from it because you think it's mockable to do in a Deadpool movie of all things. It's such a bad look. And Justin's piling on too because look, and I'm sure Blake's gotten these too, to be fair, but death threats have now been thrown Justin's way throughout social media. And I'm sure Blake's receiving them as well, but not good stuff. Do not play with Blake Lively. Time is ours, as is the night. We work in ways you'll never perceive. There are guillotines in hell for all of you. I mean, look, these are crazy people. I've gotten these before too, but it just shows you how bad this entire thing has gotten because I would argue, like I said in the beginning, nobody really knew who Justin was. No offense, Justin. You were a day player on Jane the Virgin. You directed some films that actually did pretty well. One with Sabrina Carpenter, who's still following him on Instagram, which we reported on a while back. You have done some good work. So it's frustrating that this relationship had to come to head because I do think this, you were clearly making some good movies. You had potential, but you were not a mega superstar. This lawsuit's now making you known for it, and that's not really fair if you didn't do the things you didn't do. So, look, I've always said I'm team no on this, but more and more I see, I am not accepting Blake's narrative. There's no actual proof here, and if there's proof of anything, it's showing that Blake and Ryan are kind of bullies. And I'm kind of fascinated and excited to see what this will net out. Will they actually prove more? Will this only force a settlement sooner? Because, that's what's going to be really interesting. And then now that Justin's all texts and all his dirty laundry's already out there, is he going to want to settle at this point? If Justin's truly innocent, he shouldn't settle. And he should allow for Ryan and Blake's dirty laundry and text messages to come out. Because once you leak those texts, shame on you. And if you're going to leak his texts, Blake and Ryan, let's check out your texts, shall we? If we're going to judge someone by text messages out of context, let's take a look at Blake and Ryan, shall we? I'm sure they'd love to do that. I'm sure they'll just hand over their devices because they got nothing to hide, right? Yeah, right. And if you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you that goes nowhere. In the meanwhile, we got another big update regarding this story and more. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for all alerts, smash that thumbs up, and tell me what you think down below. Appreciate you guys for watching. Much more is coming. Stay tuned here on Popcorn Planet.